Hey everyone, I am Zaracon, and today I'm going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is really just going to be my thoughts on what was presented at E3 today, both the trailer and some of the gameplay that was shown during the treehouse. In fact, as of this recording right now, it's still going on, but just at looking at some of the different stuff which they've shown, I think I have, excuse the truck outside, um, I think I have pretty much a good grasp of what the game, of how the game works and what Nintendo's bringing to the table with this. So I'm just going to just jump right in now. First off, the name, I'm not really feeling that too much. The title sounds more something like you'd hear from say Far Cry. You might just hear Far Cry Breath of the Wild, for example. Doesn't really sound Zelda-y. I mean, everything before has been. I mean, I understand what they're trying to do. This is more like you're out in the wilderness and you're sort of like trying to, I guess, in a way, survive off the land. But I don't know. It just doesn't sound right for a Zelda game. So I really do not care for the title. I'd almost even just. I mean, I know it's coming out for NX2, but I'd almost be satisfied with just calling it Zelda Wii U. Uh, that's just my opinion on that. Um, the art design for the game, I actually like that. I like the way it looks. I wouldn't exactly call it cell shading, but it somewhat reminds me of that. I mean, not on like the environments, but on like the characters, like Link, for example. It looks a little bit sort of cell shaded, but not completely. But yeah, I enjoy the environments, and I enjoy the art style. All that is beautiful. Um, and next thing I guess I want to talk about is um, how they're talking about this is going to be a big open world game, and it's supposed to be like the largest open world game that Nintendo's ever produced in a Zelda game. And that I can say, from what I've seen, it looks true. Um, However, is this really a large game? I'm not going to say it's really one of the largest games I've ever seen. I mean, I suppose for what like I said, from what we've seen with Zelda, it's a big map. I mean, they show us some of them. They show us the map, and they showed a certain section which they're going to be staying in for the duration of the E3, and yeah, it looks pretty big. But even just like comparing it to other games, I'm pretty sure other games like Skyrim or which I haven't played any of those, but I am 95% sure that those games are way larger. And even Xenoblade Chronicles, with a game like that, if you can see it, you can go there. I mean, I think Nintendo with this game, it's trying to do the same thing. Where like, okay, if you see a part here, you can go there. That's cool. Um, but I think Nintendo's just overblowing this a bit. But that's just my opinion on that. And then I guess coming to the gameplay mechanics, I like the fact that there's sort of more. Well, this is a mixed. I have mixed feelings about this part because I like the fact that you can utilize the environment around you. How you can, uh, use other weapons. You can just grab sticks and stuff and use them and stuff. And I thought that was a very cool idea, and I personally liked that. But I mean, I guess it's almost like that. It's too much a part of the game itself because I don't want to sort of have to scavenge for weapons most of the game. Like, I'd rather have just one good sword and, use that until I upgrade it to eventually like, the Master Sword. And that's another thing which I sort of have mixed feelings for. The fact that weapons can break that the items that you have can break after prolonged use, and that gives a depth of realism to it. But at the same time, I don't feel like I said before. It just doesn't feel right. And another thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that Nintendo has admitted that they're going to um, break through the normal conventions and I guess you could say rules of a Zelda game, and this I've definitely seen that in the gameplay. They are deviating from the path that we have known for a long time, and that's good that they're trying to change the experience and I guess you could say refresh the franchise. But at the same time, you don't have to throw stuff in there which really isn't necessary. Um, I guess like that, for example. One thing also is the fact that you can gather items like food items and stuff, edibles, things that you can use for health, and there are no more hearts. Well, not I don't think. Well, I don't know about heart pieces like which can use to extend your life, but just like you can't slash into the grass and find hearts there. Now you just find like meat. You can find pieces of meat, fruits, some herbs and vegetables and stuff like that, and you can um, eat those to replenish your health. That's neat. I'm gonna miss looking for hearts, because that's what's been in practically every Zelda game. Um, but I think that's a pretty neat idea. Now, one thing which I'm going to definitely say right now that I do not like, and that is the implement of technology. I guess you could say it's subtle, but I don't like the fact that Zelda is getting a technologically advanced gameplay. Well, not gameplay, but there are aspects of technology in there, like some sort of tablet thing that used to interact with other things. And at first, I was like, when they showed the gameplay, the first gameplay demo, and Link wakens up in this thing, I'm like, this looks like some sort of thing in some sort of spaceship. And I'm like, okay, is Nintendo like trying to do some sort of futuristic thing here with aliens? And then next thing I know, Nintendo says, and then like this guy says, oh yeah, we're using like technology. I'm thinking, why? Why would you do that to a Legend of Zelda game, which is strictly a fantasy game? All right, I mean, some people would say, well, Final Fantasy did that. They brought in more futuristic changes. I guess you could say with I guess you could say those sort of mech things in Final Fantasy VI, or heck, even Final Fantasy VII. That was the big plunge into like futuristic technology type of stuff. But you know, I never played a game past 6. I mean, no, I played 12 Revenant Wings for the DS, and I've played Tactics, but though I wouldn't really count those as core Final Fantasy games. But for a Zelda game which has been going on, what do they say, 30 years, you can't just. I mean, I know, like I said, they're trying to they're trying to break away from the normal rules of a Zelda game, but I just really don't think that is something that you should do. Um, I mean, yeah, you could say you can do that, but there's a difference between something you can do and something you should do. Um, those are just like rules which define rules in a way, I guess you could say. Um, oh yeah, items. They showed how like two bombs which you can get. Um, there are spherical bombs, and I think cube bombs, and they both have different things. I guess you can do like the cube bombs. They didn't really show too much of that, but the spherical bombs are good for rolling and stuff. And one thing I like about these bombs are the fact that you can detonate them at will. They won't go off at a certain time, and that's pretty neat. The downside to this, and I think they got that from Link Between Worlds, is that items don't have a limit as far as how many you can hold or running out of them. It's simply a recharge meter, and I have mixed feelings about that in a console open world Zelda game, because you know, what if I went to use multiple bombs, whereas it looked like here is you can only use a bomb uh, once you detonate it, then then the gauge has to recharge before you can use it again. Now that was fine with Link Between Worlds. Well, then again, that was with a whole meter where all of your items uh, were based on this meter, which recharged. Um, Although I think you either it recharged by itself. I mean, it's been a while since I played Link Between Worlds, but I know you could refill it by finding like the replenishing stuff. But I think it might also be able to recharge by itself, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I, it's just in an open world console Zelda game. I don't want to have to wait to use another bomb, or say I want to use a bomb here, and then I want to also use a bomb here. From what it looks like so far, I mean, like I said, this is only like a demo. You might be able to upgrade stuff, and you might be able to use more bombs later on in the game. But I just don't like how it looks. I mean, just I don't like that mechanic. I think that with arrows, though, and with the bow, I think those you can replenish. Like you have, say, 30 arrows and use one, drops down to 29. But I didn't look at that for too long. One thing that I guess is neat, but it's like, again, this is a mixed feeling, is the fact that this game almost feels in a way like an action RPG, in the fact that you can well, I know this was something like you can do in other Zelda games, but the fact that you can find different articles of clothing and use that to as use that to customize, personalize, or even enhance your, I guess, defense and stuff. Like, for example, when you wake up, you're really only wearing I guess, like under trousers or something like that, and then you find a tunic and some pants, and I guess some boots and stuff, and then you go out, and then you can find some other types of articles of clothing. And from what it looked like in the trailer, you can even get armor, which is neat. But the fact that, you know, with Zelda games before, you just have your typical tunic, which also might add the fact that, and this is something that even when we first saw Breath of the Wild, is the fact that Link was wearing a blue tunic. And I asked myself, why is Nintendo doing this? You know, Link is supposed to be wearing green. You think of Link, the first thing that pops into your head is green tunic, not blue tunic. So I'm not sure what Nintendo was thinking of doing that. I mean, sure, you know, you're most likely going to be able to find a green tunic in the game later on, but I don't want to have I don't want that, you know. I mean, sure, you could say that in Twilight Princess, he sort of, well, that wasn't even really a tunic. That was just the clothing that the people of Ordon Village wore. So that wasn't even really a. That doesn't. You can't even use that to compare that to this situation. But yeah, it's crazy. I just didn't really like that at all. The I'm not sure if I mentioned this already, but the gliding mechanic which you can use, that is pretty neat actually. The fact that you can actually glide around, it helps with navigating. I mean, as far as like you want to get to a certain point which is in your map, but you're not sure um, how you're going to get to it. If you're going to be walking around, so you think that the best thing to do is actually just to glide to it. So that's pretty neat. It can speed up traveling time. I mean, I'm pretty sure once you get a horse, it looks like you can actually even find wild horses and ride them. But what everyone wants though is Epona. But until you get to that point, the gliding is going to be a very handy feature. And speaking of extra features, they also implemented jumping, which I heard is mostly used for this other feature. But jumping is a first for a Zelda game, and I think that's pretty neat. And the fact that from what I've seen in the gameplay, if you jump at certain times during combat, you can enter. I don't remember what they called it, but it's basically a bullet time, and you can, if you press a button, you can then jump into a flurry of attacks, and that's probably going to somehow, almost I guess in a way, be similar to how in the gameplay trailer when you're riding a horse, uh, and you see Link jump off the horse and fire the bow. I'm guessing that's something that's also another aspect of that bullet time feature. And the next thing that I was going to talk about is climbing. Climbing is now a thing in this Zelda game. And I have to admit, it looks pretty decent. It's, although it reminded me somewhat of Monster Hunter just because of the climbing mechanic, and in a way I also got Monster Hunter vibes from a lot of things like going around using the environment to survive and stuff. And you can also say that it was taken from that, that's from other games too, but just from my experience with Monster Hunter, that's what reminded me a lot of. And so I'm looking at that, I'm like, huh, Monster Hunter. I don't know. But the climbing seems decent enough. One thing I don't like, though, is the fact that you have a stamina meter. So there's really a limit to how long you can climb. And I'm not sure if once it runs out, you either fall, or if, which is probably going to be the case, because if you can't climb anymore, then you're just going to be stuck there unless you jump off. Jumping will also, jumping while you're climbing, as far as like jumping to get higher faster, will also deplete a large chunk of the stamina meter as well. And that was also a factor as far as running, which I believe was in Skyward Sword, as far as running is the stamina meter, which, yeah, I really don't have too much of an opinion on that. But what I don't like is how there's a stamina meter for swimming, as far as just swimming, not diving, and that counts as just like your breath, but just swimming. I don't like that at all. None of the other Zelda games had that stamina feature there, where you can only swim for so long, and then you have to stand still while your stamina meter refills up. I just don't like that feature. It's not necessary. Again, they might have been trying to add some realism to it, but don't know. One thing that I also well, one thing I liked in the demo, I think it was Bill Trennan or Trennan. I don't remember how his last name's pronounced, but he, this actually I thought was pretty cool, was how he grabbed a bunch of explosive barrels, lined them up together, um, and then he took a wooden club which he obtained from an enemy earlier. He threw it at a fire, and then the club was on fire, and then from that, it was close enough to the barrels where the barrels just like boom exploded, and I thought that was pretty neat. And the fact that you can also set fires to set fire by taking a stick, uh, lighting it on fire, setting it on fire, and then running through the grass with it, and, like swinging at the grass, and then the grass will ignite, and that was pretty neat. Um, yeah, there are also three new amiibos that were announced for this game. It was Link, as they said, I think they said Archer Link, Link on a horse, and then I think it's just called Rider Link, and then Guardian, which I think is an enemy, and I don't like the design. I don't like the way the enemy looks. Looks too much like some sort of futuristic thing, and yeah, there are also shrines. There are not just dungeons, but there are also shrines where there's sort of, I guess you could say, a mini dungeon. But from what I've saw, what they said in the footage is that it's separate from a dungeon, as far as the fact that they are not the same. A shrine is not a dungeon. It's its own thing, and it looks pretty interesting. I mean, it's not something which I'd say is a great thing, but it was interesting. That's really all I could say to describe that. Uh, I'm going to probably watch some more of the Zelda footage, but from what I've seen, I already know how I'm feeling mostly about this game, and all I can say is that initially when I found out that there was a Zelda game, new Zelda game coming to the Wii U, my hype meter was at 95%. But after watching the video and gameplay footage for today, I'd have to say now it's at 85%. Um, and one other thing also which I wanted to mention is the fact that Nintendo was asked if you would be able to play as a female protagonist, and Nintendo said that basically they said no, and that was pretty well. I'm going to be, I guess you could say, happy about this. I'm going to tell you why, but just first off, even though it's called Legend of Zelda, you've never really played as Zelda, and they said that playing as Zelda, I think it says playing as Zelda would change the experience or change how Link's activity in the game and stuff like that. And I like that. It would be completely different, even though this game is like really different enough as it is. And the fact that we are not putting in Linkle, a stupid character who is basically just a fan character made official, and Linkle should never have existed in the first place, and I don't know what Nintendo was thinking when they made Linkle, but I'm glad that Linkle is not in this game. You know, it's a Zelda game. So, there. That's pretty much it. On a side note, the little bit of footage that I actually saved to watch for Pokemon Sun and Moon was pretty nice. I like how you can actually see trainers and stuff when you're battling, and the new, I believe they said, four player battling is neat. I like that. It's new and it's refreshing the franchise. So that's pretty neat. So yeah, that's really all. Also, in case you haven't noticed, this video is actually longer than 15 minutes. I am now able to upload videos that are longer than 15 minutes, so that is going to really change how I do videos on my channel now, so that's cool. So until next time, everyone, I am Zeracon. I am signing out. Enjoy the rest of the E3 footage.